Oh my goodness, you guys. I feel like it has been so long since I talked to you. My name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all things personal finance, faith, and lifestyle. Today, we will be going over my updated monthly budget. Normally, if things don't change on a month-to-month basis, I won't make a dedicated video to my monthly budget. However, I wanted to make this video because there have actually been quite a few changes to my budget over the past several weeks since I made my July monthly budget. So I wanted to share those with you guys here. Also, before I get into it, thank you guys so much for your patience with me. I took last week off. I've tried to be really consistent about posting on Wednesdays, but last Wednesday, it just wasn't happening. My 9 to 5 has been so busy lately, and I just needed to steward my position well and put my focus there. But if you're watching this, I appreciate you coming back for more videos. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, for my rent, amenities, Wi-Fi, those all come out together. And so that is $1,310 every month. That comes out on the 1st. Then for my water bill, it's generally no more than $50. Normally it hovers around $40, but I will say this last water bill, I want to say was like $51 or something like that. So I just want to make sure I go on the high side and budget for 50, since again, it doesn't usually ever go past that. That's very rare if it does. And then I also go ahead and just put approximate in parentheses just because I don't have that information yet. And it's not a set bill month to month. So it's really just a guess at this point. That also comes out on the 1st. Then for my electric bill, as I've been mentioning in my recent videos, it feels like my electricity bill is so expensive lately. For anyone who is not aware, I live in Austin, Texas, so it is very hot. My AC is always trying to kick on. I also just think there's something wrong with my AC. I don't know what's going on. I have to call somebody about that. But until I do that, it has been very high, and it's been exceeding what I would normally pay even for a high month. I think it's been averaging around $150, which is insane to me for someone living in a 1-bed, 1-bath. But again, that's approximate. That also comes out on the 1st. Now, besides the electric bill going up significantly, which if you're unaware, I believe I used to budget $120 a month because that's normally around where it would hover. So that was kind of my first major change in why I wanted to make this video. But the second change is CapCut. For anyone who knows, I am not a huge subscription person. I don't love that. But for the sake of the fact that this is really a job for me now, I wanted to go ahead and invest in CapCut. Although I have iMovie for free and I feel like they're virtually the same, I use CapCut every day in my 9 to 5, so I'm already familiar with how to use it. And so right now I'm paying for that on a month-to-month basis. But if I need that to go away, then I can always use iMovie and just figure it out. But for now, I pay $20.60 for CapCut monthly. That comes out on the 2nd, I believe. I checked before this, and one thing was saying it comes out on the 2nd, the other thing was saying it comes out on the 6th. It doesn't really matter. It all falls within the same pay period regardless. Next is my car and renter's insurance. Those get bundled into one. That is $293.39, which once again is heartbreaking every time I talk about it. That comes out on the 10th of the month. Then my beloved Spotify, that is $12.97 per month, which comes out on the 12th. Then the next heartbreaking payment that I have to add to my bill category is for my retainers. This came somewhat unexpectedly. I had braces as a teenager and I got a permanent retainer. That permanent retainer recently broke out of my mouth, and so I need something to keep my teeth straight, even though they've already started shifting, so whatever. I just don't want it to get any worse, and especially not right before my wedding, and I can't afford Invisalign right now. But since retainers are also really expensive, I was not prepared to pay the nearly $600 that they wanted me to pay up front, so I got on a no interest payment plan, which is for a 6-month duration, and that is $45.31. I already made the first payment, so my next payment will come out on September 12th. Next is the car payment, which is $378.30, which, as some of you may know, I split that up into 2 different payments over the course of a month, but regardless, that is the overall total. That comes out on the 13th of each month. Then we have my phone bill, which is $44.74. That comes out on the 15th of each month. Then the next addition to my monthly budget is Canva. Again, now that I really consider this to be another job, I thought it was important to invest in Canva. That's where I make all of my on-screen text, and that's where I made my end screen for all of my videos and my thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. So it was a worthy investment, but I decided to just split it with someone who already pays for the pro version of Canva. So my portion of that is $15, and that comes out on the 22nd of each month. In general, if you can split a subscription with someone, try to do it. Next, we have iCloud, which is $9.99. I feel like all of my numbers are slanting. That was not intentional, but I just noticed. iCloud is $9.99. That also comes out on the 22nd. And then my student loans, which are $161.72 every month, and that comes out on the 28th. Now we're getting into the expense category. As a quick disclaimer, and I'm gonna go into this probably maybe in a future video if anyone is curious, but tithing is a very personal thing, and I wouldn't typically share my tithe amount, but because I do zero-based budgeting, if I didn't include it on here, but I told you guys how much I make and I'm being forthcoming about everything else, then you guys would see that there's basically a random 500 something dollars that isn't being allocated. And so I share my tithe not to draw attention to it by any means, but to be an example of the fact that I believe in tithing, and whether you tithe or you just have something that means a lot to you, whether that's an organization or something like that that you like to donate to, I think that that is a worthy cause. And I'm only mentioning this because I received a negative comment about my tithe, and I don't really want to spend time giving negative comments attention or getting sucked into all of that. But I say this because whether I was spending this money on tithing or I was spending it on getting monthly beauty maintenance or whatever it is, someone is always going to have an opinion about the way that you spend your money. At the end of the day, this is personal finance. It is personal to you. What you want to spend your money on, that's your business. I don't come on here telling anybody what they should spend their money on, or that I think it's stupid that they spend their money on things differently than I would. That is not my goal here. And so it's a very daunting thing to share this level of personal information on the internet. So to get a comment like that, it's fine. I get it. Prior to being a Christian, I also had my thoughts and feelings about tithing. I understand, but let's try not to judge each other about what we're spending our money on. As long as it is within your budget, you could be spending your money entirely differently from me. But if you're sticking to your budget, then you're hitting the goals that you're setting for yourself. But anyway, let's move on because we're not here for that. Again, if anybody wants a more in-depth video about tithing and why I tithe and why that matters to me, I will try to make a video for you. But next, gas. I give myself $160 per month, so $40 a week. That is usually good enough for me. And then for groceries, I budget $250, and I've mentioned this before, but that does not include like my eating out money and things like that. It can if I want it to, but that really falls under like the spending category. So this is for like my main essentials and stuff like that, because I'm a creature of habit and I basically eat the same stuff all the time. So it's pretty easy for me to set a grocery budget. And then for therapy, this is actually going to be $60 a month. I thought it was going to be $120, but I'm actually only having therapy once every 2 weeks. So it's actually going to be a lot less expensive than I was anticipating. And then in the spending category, always stays the same. That is $400. Also, this is completely random, but if you can hear this candle crackling, my apologies. Or maybe it's nice. Maybe it's a form of ASMR. I would assume it actually is probably more annoying than anything. And I didn't realize until after I just lit it for the first time that it's a crackling candle. So it's probably not best for this video. If it sounds annoying post-production, I will try to reduce the sound of that. But if I can't, it's my crackling candle. But anyway, let's get into the total. Between my bills and expenses, I'm looking at $3,894.84 per month. And then my monthly income has not yet changed, but hopefully soon, Lord willing. My monthly income is $5,246.80. And then at this point, I go ahead and subtract out the bills and expenses from my monthly income. So bills and expenses, that brings the total to $1,351.96. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my handwriting. So this is going to be kind of another change to my budget. So because of all of these additions that I've had to make and increases and all that, what this is going to affect is my investment amount. I don't want to adjust my spending because I find that to be unrealistic. I already give myself $400 a month. That's like $100 a week, obviously. So that's not something that I'm looking to lower. I'm also not looking to lower my savings amount at this point, just because I am getting married soon. I do need some savings for deposits and things like that to pay for vendors up front. And so I still need to stick by my goal of saving $1,000 a month. So that would leave me investing $351.96 a month. I feel bad just because I really want to prioritize my investments. I feel like that's fallen by the wayside so much of my 20s. And the earlier you invest, the better. That's more time your money has to compound on itself. And so I feel like I'm in a place where I don't want to keep playing myself in that way and not taking it seriously. It's just that, again, right now I have these wedding expenses coming up, but I also don't want to be making that excuse forever, because let's say it's not the wedding and let's say it's a house instead or something like that. I want to get to a point where I'm investing regardless. So maybe what I need to do is set up my investments as if it is a bill and just say, hey, it doesn't really matter what I have going on. I need to invest this money regardless, because I think it's so easy to have that fall by the wayside when you have other things come up, versus if you just sort of have this as a reoccurring thing, then what can you do? You have to pay it regardless, just like any other bill. So I'll check back in with you guys about that very soon. But like I said, that leaves us still $1,000 for my savings. And for anyone who's curious, I went ahead and recalculated my 50-30-20 budget split. I've been doing this each time I do these monthly recalculations just to make sure I'm not getting too far out of this framework. For anyone who's unfamiliar, the 50-30-20 budget split is a framework. It's not necessarily something that I feel like I need to follow to a T. I just like to see how close I stay within those parameters. But the 50% is supposed to indicate that 50% of your income is going towards your needs, that 30% of your income is going towards your wants, and 20% is going towards savings. But in my case, when I recalculated, my needs are currently at 56%. My wants are at 18%. And my savings are at 26%. This isn't super far off from where I was prior, but it is a little bit different. My wants didn't change. I include my spending and my tithe and my wants, and I still am not even meeting that 30% wants threshold, so that's great. My needs are a little high right now compared to the 50% that it's technically supposed to be at, whoever made that up. But again, that just has to do with the additions that we made. It's really not the end of the world. And then savings are at 26%. So 6% above where, again, the framework says you should be. So I'm still happy with this. I feel like this budget split really puts things into perspective if I feel like I'm being a little too hard on myself. But yeah, this is where I'm at currently. If you guys have any questions about my monthly budget breakdown or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. I will be making these updates as updates come. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!